so that's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to try and break it down. Typically, in a tissue proteomics study, scientists will measure the abundance of protein across samples and ask how that associates with disease. And we are asking a slightly different question, which is, instead of measuring the amount of protein across a cell population, we're actually asking what is the distribution of proteins within the cell, as opposed to the sort of expression. And this is called subcellular localization, as I'll refer to throughout the talk. And to do this, it's actually quite simple experimentally, is we just add another dimension to that proteome by subcellular fractionation. So we separate out the contents of the tissue homogenate on a density gradient, which means you basically spin it really fast, and the most dense parts of the cell will move to the pellet, the first pellet, second pellet, the third pellet, until we get 7 fractions. And if you look at sort of some canonical markers of organelles, for example, like the nucleus here I'm showing in the plot, you can see that that is enriched in fraction, what these might be histones or things that you would always associate with being in the nucleus. We can see that the profiles of those markers are highest in fraction 1, and then they drop off in the later fractions, and the converse applies for the cytosol. So we can actually generate these characteristic profiles of proteins, which should be separating according to their characteristic subcellular niche. So we actually applied this to brain tissue from the ROSMAP cohort. So these are 75 individuals, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and these are spanning the controls, the AD, and then also resilient people. So they have quite high neuropathological burden, but they are cognitively intact. So we're quite interested in what's happening in their brains. So we can use these markers that I showed you for different parts of the cell and sort of generate this subcellular map of the AD brain, which I'm showing in the top left image. But perhaps more interesting is asking whether proteins mislocalize across disease. So this could be independent of their abundance change. So you might find things that have no change in abundance, but their distribution within the cell is changing. So we know we see that with amyloid and tau. They are increasing in abundance, but they are also mislocalizing. Tau is detaching from microtubules, and we are seeing aggregation. And if you look to the plot that says abundance versus proportion, you can see that quite nicely. If we look at amyloid, APP, it's highest in Alzheimer's disease in the red, compared to resilient in greens and control in blue. If you look underneath that of the proportion of protein attributable to any given fraction, we see this huge peak in fraction 7 for controls, and then that shift into fraction 6, highest in fraction 6 for resilient and dementia, which is consistent with the sort of soluble oligomeric forms of the protein then moving into these more dense plaques. So we can be sensitive to these changes. So to ask whether proteins are mislocalizing, independent of their abundance, we wanted to know if that profile across the 7 fractions looks different by condition, by disease condition. So that would mean the shape of the line is changing. And we model this using a mixed linear model, which I will not go into. But essentially the size of that spatial change is shown on the x-axis of the volcano plot. And that volcano plot has around 220 proteins that we predict are significantly mislocalizing by disease. And a lot of these proteins, many of these, converge on sort of interconnected and similar processes that are involved with sort of long-range trafficking. So the dynactin complex, all of the subunits of that show a consistent shift. The AP3 complex, which is involved in sort of synaptic vesicle coating, which interacts with this complex, is also all shifting in the same direction. And things like the U1 spliceosome, the whole spliceosome is moving, and we're capturing things we probably expect to see. And I've listed a few other things that sit at the interface of these processes too. So if you want to come and talk to me at a poster about these, I'm more than happy to go into more detail. But probably the most interesting thing that we find is we detect proteins like our top hit, which is SCAI, which is never been characterized in brain before because it doesn't have an abundance level change. So even in the largest scale proteomic tissue analyses, no one has found this. We are seeing this huge shift in AD in increase in fraction 6, which we can't explain. So we're currently doing lots of tissue-based and cell-based validation to try and find out what it's doing in neurons. So if you want to know kind of how we're doing that, please come and speak to me at poster 19.